Hi, and welcome to In Focus, the show that brings you different personalities that talk about their different areas of expertise. And today I have a beautiful lady in studio, and I want to allow her to introduce herself because she might do justice to her introduction, possibly more than I would, but later on I can also add something. And so welcome to the show, Grace.
Thank you so much.
Karibu sana, and please allow me to ask you to introduce yourself and tell us as much as you can and what you're most comfortable with about yourself.
Okay, great. Yes. So my name is Grace Gikonyo. I am the founder and managing director at Maynet PR Marketing. It's a fully integrated PR and marketing agency focused on MSMEs. Also a co-author of How We Rise and Thrive, with 12 other women co-authors in different fields that have been able to rise and thrive in their careers.
Yes.
Apart from that, I think that's it for now. Yes.
All right, great. Yeah. Something about what you love about life, maybe?
Well, I love traveling. I love the adventures, the nature.
Yes.
If people love going to the beach, I love the bush.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's something that people find it so odd about me, but that's just me, who I am.
Okay. And thanks to social media, recently I saw you with some wild animals somewhere. Thanks to social media anyway. So karibu sana to In Focus, and today we are talking about public relations, and possibly at some point we'll talk about marketing. So when we talk about PR, many people think everything and almost anything about making yourself look good to the public. For you to make yourself look good, it means there's a problem, according to my understanding. But now you tell us, what is really PR? When you talk about PR, what is it that you wish people would know?
I think most people look at PR as media, press releases, but they don't understand that there is more to PR than media. If you ask even the practitioners right now, what do you do apart from media and press release, they'll shrink. Because corporations that are known out there, the big corporations have made it look like if you don't appear in the newspaper, if you don't appear in TV, if you're not heard on radio, if you're not out there in whichever way, then you're not doing PR. But PR encompasses so much. There's internal relations, which are making the employees become brand advocacies or brand advocates. There is community, where you can be able to hold events with the community, do something together, do CSR. That's also part of PR. And there's also the other part of PR where people do not talk about, which is the digital PR. And this is where most MSMEs, they shy off from that because they don't know what the impact would be. And that's the use of influencer. Influencer relations is one part of PR. And there's the micro-influencers who are coming up, very affordable, but people look at the big influencers as the people to talk about. And most people use influencers to just market. They don't use influencers to continuously talk about their brand. So many micro-influencers, even on Twitter right now, it's become a norm. You'll find something that is trending and you think people are talking about this, but they're micro-influencers, but because they have a small following, people don't know. And there's also the bit of events, going out there to advocate for your brand, doing something together with your team, with the outsiders who really believe in your brand. That's part of PR. There's the blogs that talk about you. That is your own blogs and outside blogs. That's also part of PR. So PR is so broad. It's not just the press releases. It's good to have the press releases, but it's not the end. If you do not have the press releases, the media, it doesn't mean that you're not doing PR.
That's been quite comprehensive, and I'm sure, particularly for those that are interested in PR, it sheds a lot of light into the world of PR. And many people have limited themselves to, like you've mentioned, press releases, but I'm thinking in the world of digitization and less of print media, and unless someone is deliberately going out to look for a press release, an e-press release, are press releases even sought out as they used to be? Because in the past you'd come across it on page 3, for example, of a newspaper. What about today?
I'd say traditional media,
yes.
traditional marketing, traditional PR is still relevant.
Right.
In as much as the digital world has come up, it doesn't mean that you should abandon what you were doing before.
Yeah.
Journalists are still sourcing for those press releases. And every day you'll come across news.
Yes.
Even on paper, you'll find the business news. Some of them are very irrelevant, but they have tweaked something to make sense to them. Let me give an example. When I was working for an online classifieds platform, we didn't have as much news like to report on. But that's why I always say PR efforts always softens marketing and sales efforts. So what happened was there was an issue with property category. We were not getting as many sales. But people, when we did research, we realized that the issue that most people have is that they feel the property category on that online classifieds was more of fraudsters. So we knew there has been something that we're doing on anti-fraud, but people do not know about it.
Okay.
So it was old news. This was something that was introduced 3 years ago. But because people didn't know about it, we had to talk about it through a press release and said we have introduced anti-fraud for the property category. So we looked at it as new news, but people started coming in thinking we've solved the whole issue. So sometimes the press releases help to soften the marketing and sales efforts, because still people talk about, read the newspapers. The newspapers have become digital. The news agencies that we normally send the press releases to, in as much as they'll put it on the newspaper, on TV, they'll also have it digitally on their platform. So people will be able to also read through. So sometimes even when we send press releases, we ask, are you also going to do the same on digital? Then they share the links, both the photo of the news on the paper, and also they'll share the link of the digital. So it's like balancing the same, but it helps us get more people.
Okay, interesting. And you've also mentioned influencers. You call them not micro influencers. What did you call them?
Micro, yes.
Oh yeah, micro influencers.
Yes.
And I thought, talking of influencers, there are times you see this influencer is all over the place. What's your take on, marrying the message? Because I'll get fascinated with the influencer. After that, I'm not even interested in what the guy had to say. For me, it was the fun of acting out, whatever it is. And after that, I'll not even take the next step. So maybe what's your take as a PR professional on that?
I think the most important thing is to know what's the objective of using these influencers. So if you're using a mega influencer the audience is vast, millions, hundreds of thousands, 500,000 and plus, their audience is quite vast. So that one, you only go for them for brand awareness. If you want conversions or leads, you go for the macro and micro. These are people who have 100,000 to 5,000. So as someone who has 5,000 followers to, let's say, 20,000, that's a micro-influencer. When you look at this person, the kind of audience who are there have been attracted to what they do. For example, you love cooking. So you follow someone who is good in cooking, talks about cooking. So whenever they come up with a product or they're used by a brand to promote a product, when you hear about it, you'll use it because you've seen the results. You really trust this person to an extent that you'll use whatever they ask you to do. When you follow a macro influencer, and that's why mega influencer, and that's why you find a mega influencer will post Infinix today, tomorrow it's iPhone, another day it's Samsung.
Or a fertilizer, for example.
Exactly. They are not after brand loyalty. For them, it's about who is going to pay more. For the small brands, they cannot be able to afford the kind of rate card they have or they are seeking for. So you'll find they'll be more geared to the micro influencers. They charge less, but they are there for a longer time. So even the leads are converting.
All right.
But the other one is more about awareness. So if you've launched a product, it's very good to use a mega or a macro.
Yeah.
If you want conversions and leads, use a micro.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, that's quite something, because honestly, I never saw it from that perspective, but it's like if you want longevity and results, don't always go for mega. Go for macro, right? Yes. Interesting. And then I'm sure the viewer is learning something, because at the end of the day, most influencers make us laugh. They make us, happy. But after that, even at a personal level, I've discovered I'm not so sure I'm thinking about this product after this, but you've made it very clear. So let's talk about bad PR. Is there something like bad PR?
Yes, and people say good or bad PR is PR, which is wrong. Because if you say, okay, there are aspects of bad PR that convert into good PR.
Yes.
Let me give an example. Controversy sometimes helps get good PR.
Right.
So there was a time we did a billboard that was very controversial. There was some sexual innuendo into that in the billboard. And this is coming up so many times in so many brands. Why we did that was because we wanted people to talk about us. It worked, but when you look at the sentiments, negative and positive and neutral, we had so many negative sentiments. We got the word out. We were out there in terms of PR, but the reputation was off.
Yeah.
So sometimes that may help to make people
brand.
Talk.
The reputation of the brand.
The reputation of the brand may be affected, but people will start talking. So when they say good and bad PR is PR, it's because it helps with marketing. It helps people get to know about you, but now the perception that people will be left with about you will not be positive. It will take a very long time for you to change the narrative. Yes. And you've seen even with, there was an airline in 2017 that the passengers were full in one of their aircrafts. Aeroplanes, and they chased one of their passengers, and someone recorded the whole ordeal. And when it was in the public eye, they said that it was the passenger's fault. It was very arrogant of them. And when the public came, of course, now people got to know about them because of that. But when there was a lot of issues with the statement they had issued, they had to retract and say, we are sorry, we apologize to the passenger, and they had to give some sort of
a complimentary
yes to the passenger. So they even ended up doing more because of their reputation. So sometimes it's you'd say it's bad PR, good PR is PR, but it affects the brand after a long time.
Definitely.
I've worked with an online classifieds that was known because of fraud. We had 4 years of trying to undo that. So in as much as, yes, we are trending on social media, we had to go to different police stations to make people come out of those places, issue press statements so that people can know we are doing something. So sometimes, in as much as bad PR is good PR, sometimes we can't avoid some bad PR, but it takes a lot of you owning the brand, you owning the mistake, and saying we are sorry. In as much as you want to appear good to the public knows better and they will judge you. So sometimes even when you know it's the customer's fault, it's the client's fault, take the blame, work with the client, and make the public know they are cared for, so that people can be able to work with you.
Okay. Yeah. Wow, interesting. The other day, I was talking to a lawyer, and I was on a light note, really. One of the leading comedians in this world, not in this country, one time said that when the people will be told to stand on the side of the sheep and the goats, the Germans would be told, no offense, I have nothing against the Germans, I'm just quoting some comedy that was done, would be told to go to the left, I think, the Germans, and then some other group of people, and then lawyers would be put on that side, because apparently, so sometimes when people talk about public relations officers, they almost make them sound like liars on behalf of organizations. So from where you sit, would you defend PROs and say sometimes, not sometimes really, but actually they don't lie on behalf of an organization? Would you defend them? Because that's your field. Would you defend them?
I'd say yes. There are times that we lie, and there are times that we say the truth and it hurts. Sometimes you're working for a brand. You know, they say you can do a lot of PR, but if the brand is not okay in terms of packaging, in terms of the product is not making sense, you sometimes have to lie to make the brand make sense.
Lie to who?
To the audience. You know, good PR cannot fix a product. Good PR cannot fix a bad company. Good PR cannot fix like the whole packaging of whatever you're trying to sell.
Okay.
So sometimes you've hired PR, but whatever you're trying to sell is not even sellable.
Wow.
So PR, because in order, if you look at the funnel, let's not just talk about the marketing funnel, but if you look at the whole funnel of selling something, PR tops, then marketing, then sales.
Okay.
So if PR doesn't do their job, marketing efforts will not be warmed up. People won't listen to it. Even if we advertise and do all that, people will easily see them as not making sense. Yet you want this to work. So sometimes you lie about a product, you lie about something. There was a diaper product that was out there and there was something about it. It was doing something to children. The PR or the company image was sold because of that. And you as the PR, you can't admit that that is happening. So you'll sort of soften the messaging to make people know that something happened on this time that made this, but it was happening during this time only. But you know for sure it's happening on the background. So sometimes you're fixing the problem as you're trying to soften the message to the audience, but it's not true. But there are times when the company has really been affected by the public, and it's upon you to either defend the company, and sometimes because the public outcry is too much, people believe it. So even you as the PR, when you defend the company, people think you're lying, but you're not.
Okay. Yeah. So don't you think, I mean, admitting to the fact that lies are involved, it puts not just you, I'm not looking at you as a person, but the industry at stake, because people would say, oh, there we go. There's an admission to lying. Don't you think that's why organizations prefer to recall a product and admit that an error happened? We are on earth, mistakes happen, instead of saying maybe we lied. I mean, don't you think it's better to say an error happened and we are looking into it? Just like when there are investigations, I'm just trying to remove myself from the lie factor.
As a PR lecturer.
Exactly. Well, whichever way you want to look at it, I'll find it hard to say, you go lie. I mean, yeah, you tell me about it because you're the expert.
Since you were talking about lawyers, don't lawyers lie at some point to defend the client? They know the truth. Like lawyers will ask you, tell me the truth.
Yes.
Like they'll tell you, just
behind
tell me.
The curtains, tell me the truth.
But when they're going to present the case, they'll never say my client is guilty, ever.
True. You're
so
right
sometimes,
on that one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's the same with PR. We also have legal people in certain companies who advise PR on what to say and what to do.
Yeah.
So sometimes the legal may tell us, do not say that yet. Because the minute you say that, automatically you've destroyed the sales efforts. Yes. Currently, we have an influencer who's going through the same. So the company has been shut down because of whatever he's going through. Okay. Will he say yes to what he's doing? If he says yes, then all the other clients will never buy from him. Right. So sometimes PR is also in the masses of legal and also in the masses of the company image. So you look at, if I say yes to this, there are moments when you can recall a product. There's a book I'm reading and it's about PR and marketing. And one of the cases they had was a company had an issue. So those are in the 70s.
Yes.
So they had an issue with the gas tank of cars, certain cars.
Yeah.
And they knew if they are able to repair all gas tanks in the whole country, it will cost them more. So one day there was a lady who was traveling, and they realized that the area where the gas tank is open. So they put the car to the side and opened it. But there was a lorry coming, a truck that was coming, and it hit the car. But because it was open, the whole car exploded. So the parents to that lady did not sue the truck because they knew they had already reported the issue of the gas tank. So they sued the company which owned the car. And when the company was sued and they went to the courts, they said the amount of money they could have spent on repairing all gas tanks in the country versus the losses of lives were less than the repair of gas tanks. They said the truth, but how the public saw it was, you are telling us that you do not care about us at all. You care about the profits of the company. So you see, at that point, you've said the truth. And it has cost you all. Everyone is not buying from you anymore because they fear that they'll die. So in that case, they ended up losing so many clients. They ended up repairing all gas tanks of all cars which they were avoiding. And again, they lost about several years of no sales. They had to get rid of that particular kind of vehicle. That's so much sales effort, so many sales that have been lost. So in the side of PR, we could have said that was just one car. So sometimes the lie helps to cover up for the image, because the image impacts sales.
Wow, I don't know. I guess considering how you explain it, I'm just thinking of, first of all, it was insensitive. But those are things that are not discussed on camera, like right now, and people choose to interpret them in whichever way. For some, it's a white lie. For others, it's a blatant lie. For others, it's a way to save an entire company one has built for many, many years. But now let's talk about, in your practice, you've gotten an award, and possibly you can tell us about it. Recently, you got an award, and top digitally smart
fit.
Yes, please tell us about it.
Okay, so I won the top digitally fit PR practitioner of the year. That was in 2023. So why I'm always very passionate about PR as a person, but I look at it in terms of the digital. PR has evolved, marketing too, and all other industries to go into the digital side. And one of the things I was very big on was brand advocacy, not just personally as a PR person, but to all employees who are working with us at that point. So there were efforts that I'd come up with in terms of, first of all, when I joined the company, at that time they had just bought a different company that was in Kenya, and they were trying to make the company be known less of fraud, because there was a lot of fraudsters, a lot of cleanup to do. So with that sense, we realized that the audience that we are targeting are not on paper. They are not on TV. As the previous company that we had bought from were doing. They were more on digital. Everyone is scrolling through social media. So we wanted to tap into that, because we had done a billboard. It wasn't working. People are not understanding that. So we wanted to impact through digital. I'd say we were the first company that tapped into the micro-influencers. Every day you could wake up to more than 50 influencers talking about us. We did the same even on socials. And that really helped change the narrative about the company. So we started finding sellers who were better in terms of how they sell. They were open to the anti-fraud system that we had created. So in that case, I started talking about it. We started telling employees to also talk about it. It's not just the work of the PR team, because at that point I didn't even have a team. So doing that helped people realize that this is a safe place. I think that was the biggest. At that point, people hadn't known the digital PR bit. So people started tapping into it. They started asking questions. And because our contacts were not on any platform, people were reaching out to me as like the person to go to. To date, I still get calls. So it's because of you talking about things digitally, making people know that this is happening. We also did something on TikTok. At that point, TikTok was just lip syncing. So we did something on skits. So we were showing what is happening. So those things that people talk about, fraud, we were showing how can you be defrauded on our platform. So we were admitting there is fraud, but how can you not be defrauded on our platform? So we were showing instances on TikTok on what is happening. So some of these things caught the eye of many people. We moved from 10 followers to close to 3,000 followers in just 2 months.
Wow. You had 10 followers?
We only had 10 followers when we started like actively doing the skits. Because we were doing lip syncing and challenges. Oh, people are dancing, let's dance. But that wasn't attracting any followers. So when we started doing the skits, the followers really, really increased to a point where we could see 11.7 likes in just one day. By the end of the day, we see so many likes and we realize it's because we have admitted these things are happening on our platform. But this is how you can be able to prevent yourself from being defrauded. So that was one of the ways that I was able to get the top digitally fit. One, because not many people had embraced PR digitally. When people could talk about digital, everyone was talking about marketing. Oh, let's market our brands. Let's promote this. But people were not really using TikTok in the right way. They were not using their micro-influencers. So micro-influencers were looking at, I need to get to 100,000 so that I can start earning. So people were not tapping into even the Twitter influencers to promote what they are talking about. So we had campaign-based themes. So for 3 months, we're talking about this. That's cross-posted everywhere. On TikTok, we're advocating for the same on skits. If we're talking to micro-influencers, it's the same. So you find the message was drawn everywhere. And even because LinkedIn is expensive to promote, we were using our own employees to talk about those things. So you find, if you go to TikTok, you find us organically. If you go to Twitter, you find us. If you go to social media, you find us. But we're not promoting something. We are just talking about a campaign that we want fraudsters to be off. This is what we are doing to protect you.
Wow.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of energy, commitment, and all that, you put in a lot of discipline and also knowledge and research, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned before we go on break, social commerce as part of your portfolio.
Yes.
Could you say something about social commerce? Because it sounds like a new term to most people. Just say something about social commerce.
Okay, so e-commerce is what is known by many people. And I had worked in the e-commerce sector for 3 years. And I became the face of e-commerce for some time because not many people were talking about their brand as in the person who's the brand image. That's how I got to know. Of course, you could hear trends in e-commerce, social commerce came up. E-commerce is where you buy through a website. So there are those ones that are known like Jumia and Amazon. You buy all products from them. So sellers come to the Amazons, the Jumia, they promote through Jumia. No one knows about Jumia or no one knows about the buyers, the sellers. They just know about the Jumia and Amazon. It's more or less like supermarkets. If you go to a supermarket like Quickmart, when you go to Quickmart, you see products. You see the brands, but you don't know who brought these brands here. So you only know you bought this from Quickmart. If you get something that's spoiled, you'll not go to the owner of the brand, you'll go to Quickmart. So that's equivalent to the online bit of Jumia and Amazon.
Okay.
Brands are also doing that with their websites. Nowadays, e-commerce, you find clothing companies are also doing their own sites you can be able to order from there. We also have ABL, who's also done the e-commerce, where you can order drinks from wherever you are. So brands are taking up that on their own. Then there is the social commerce. I don't know if you've seen, but right now if you go to TikTok and go scroll across, you'll find someone who's live and selling clothes. Clothes is what I've seen so many times. So they'll say this one is this much, and then you'll see someone sending gifts. So those gifts are translated into money. They become money to them, and they've sold the item just like that. So social commerce is selling through social media. So you sell through WhatsApp without leaving the platform. You've sold through that platform. So there are companies which are coming up in the same sense, which are doing WhatsApp commerce. WhatsApp commerce is done currently by a company called Sukiba. So they help brands sell on WhatsApp without leaving.
Without leaving
the WhatsApp. In the sense, WhatsApp business limits people because you'll order and then they'll tell you, okay, I'll come with it. Or the WhatsApp commerce, you can track your order. So the same way you normally converse with someone, someone will reach out to your company through your contact and say, I need, let's say, Butter, because I know Butter is doing WhatsApp commerce. They'll say, Butter, I want this shoe. My shoe number is this and this and this. I live here. So Butter will tell you, you'll get your order on this day. You'll pay, you'll be able to track your order coming, delivery on WhatsApp commerce, everything WhatsApp commerce. So you're not leaving the WhatsApp at all. You're buying from WhatsApp to your place.
That's relatively new, right?
Yes, it's relatively new, but has been embraced by so many brands, especially the corporates, because they understand the power of the WhatsApp commerce. It's very exhausting when you keep receiving calls. Oh, I want this. Oh, I want this, because people prefer calling. So you can just tell them, text me. Once you text on WhatsApp, everything is digital. That's WhatsApp commerce. There's also the bit of now the likes of Twitter who are doing differently, the whole bit, incorporating website and social media. So they're using influencers to promote products. So you find it's still part of social commerce, but use of influencers. So the influencers are like sellers on the page. You see Jumia have the people who are selling. But you just see the company, but you don't interact with the company, you interact with Jumia. Now, in this case, you do not interact with Twitter in as much as you found them through the Twitter website. You interact with them as the influencer. So an influencer, the same way they normally promote products, will promote something like a shoe. You'll tap on their link, be redirected to the site, and then you'll see all their products and buy from them directly. So you'll also track through the influencers page. So those are the things that are coming up. It's still quite new in Kenya, but has been really embraced in the Middle East.
That's interesting. And they say that's what you are never taught in school.
Clearly, you are not.
Clearly, what I'm hearing, okay, of course, years have gone by, but that is what you learn on the street. Street smart versus book smart. I'm hearing a lot of street smart today from you, and I think you do lots of research.
Because I always tell PR practitioners, we are not like accountants. You only do accounting, period. In PR, you are immersed into a company. Tomorrow, you're supposed to represent the company. You do not know anything. It's your research which will help. Because for me, when I went into e-commerce, I didn't know anything about e-commerce. And by month 2, I was being told I'm representing the company in a panel discussion.
I hear you. We have to go on a break. Wow, thank you, Grace. That's a lot of information, lots of information there regarding public relations. We haven't even touched on marketing, but after the break, we will come and talk a bit about marketing, and possibly, if time allows, we will look at sales. And so we'll be back after the break. You're watching In Focus, and today in studio we have Grace, who is a PR practitioner, way more than just a PR practitioner from the introduction. And so today, Grace, as we talk about PR and marketing, would you tell us a bit about some of the brands you've collaborated with that you've mentioned in your book that we'll talk about a little later? And some of the names are pretty, major brands. How do you even manage? Because someone is out there, they're struggling, they're PROs, they have what it takes, but they don't know. So maybe you can tell us, how do you even start the journey of the collaboration? Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so I'll say this with a lot of pride.
Yeah.
I am who I am mostly, like the person I'm known for, because of Gigi. I think that was the online classifieds I kept mentioning, because when I worked with Gigi, and I always talk about mentorship, walking the journey with someone, and that's where it all started. I had worked in PR for a very long time, but that's where my brand rose. And it's because there are people who held my hand in that company.
Yes.
One of the things I always say is, if you're owning a company, or if you're the CEO, managing director, regional manager, let the PR person do their job. You find that most people who are the CEOs want to also do PR. So you find they want to be the image of the company. So when you take away the CEO, sometimes there's no PR.
Okay.
Or the company is lost. They don't know what to do.
Okay.
So when I came in, I was, as I said, month 2, I was supposed to go into a panel discussion. We had a regional manager who was in the company for so long, and he told me, "The one going, I'm not going." I told the headquarters, and they all panicked. Everyone was sending research. Oh, read this, read that, read that. And they held my hand. I became an expert to a point where I was seated. I remember towards the end of my journey, I was seated with people who were CEOs, and I was just the head of PR. Because the regional manager said, let's go. And it took a lot for me to research about this so that I can become the voice and person behind it. So with Gigi, what I did that was very significant was the fact that, first of all, I learned to believe in myself.
Yeah.
I learned to understand that PR is not the same way I'm saying bulk SMS, social media. It's not just about media. It's about a whole package. When you do PR, you also have to encompass marketing. You also have to encompass sales. And all your efforts have to be tied into a campaign. You're not just doing a billboard on selling this, PR on this. It's not balanced. And even the results will not be able to make sense. So when it comes to Gigi, those are the results I saw happening. Like even the anti-fraud that we introduced, we talked about it. So the results were more sales and better reputation. And the PR was even, I'd say servant leadership helps. The thing that we were taught in this about servant leadership. There are points where we went to Kayole police station, because that's where a lot of phones, electronics are, people buy stolen stuff. We could go there. Yes, we could go there to just make sure that the buyers are not going through the process, yet they bought from our system. So we could give identification for that. When it comes to Twiva, these are people who saw me because of Gigi. And they poached me to their company. And at Twiva, one of the things, because when I went into the company, it was a very shy brand. And they wanted to be exposed. And I'd say with Twiva, there was a lot of partnerships. Partnerships is part of PR. because at that point it wasn't systematic. I was trying to introduce what I had introduced in Gigi. Right. Remember, I went in when there was no, I didn't have a team in Gigi, and I formed it. So by the time I was even leaving to Twiva, those are the things I was trying to introduce. Partnership. They were doing influencer marketing, but I introduced something that was very different, which was documentation. How do you communicate to an influencer? How do you come up with a brief? What kind of messaging are you trying to send out? And even any small thing, I was making sure that we had celebration. Because with Gigi, the 12 awards I left there was because I was spreading a lot of information out there that people are capturing.
You made a lot of noise.
Exactly.
Positive noise for
exactly.
That
so the digital noise helps you get even awards. So that's the same thing I did with Twiva. And in a span of a year, we had close to 5 awards.
Wow.
So I'd say...
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Even though it's in the past, but it's still... courtesy of you.
Exactly. And one of the things I'd say Twiva helped me with, when I went there, it was an influencer marketing agency transitioning to social commerce. So one of the things I learned when I was there is the fact, because they were also very big on MSMEs, we could get so many MSMEs trying to do both PR and marketing. And you see, because no one else had an experience in PR and marketing apart from me, I was the one advising on quotations, what can be done, what can't be done in that area. And in the process, people believed so much in me that some even... I got gigs from them. They were like, but you know what you're saying. Can you do this thing? Then we give influencer marketing to Twiva. So that's why I started getting gigs. And in the process, someone... always say divine, what are they called?
Connections?
Divine connections.
Yes.
Someone sat with me, and at that point I thought, this is someone who's trying to poach me again. And he told me, you cannot put your left hand aside and more effort to your right hand. Your right hand has been writing. So what about your left hand? And my left hand, he denoted that as my gigs. You're doing so good in that. Why are you not putting energy into it? To also write the same way? And as any employee, and as an employee, you always fear, what next? What if I don't get as much as I'd want? But I took that leap of faith, and Maynet was just a prayer. I was always operating as Gigi the brand. But just in my prayer last year, I had said one of my resolutions is to make sure Gigi the brand grows. I register it. And in the process, the preacher was talking about Vusha Nyavu. So putting the net. And the net, and he was talking about ask God for favor. I was born in May, 1st May. May is number 5.
I was going to ask you that question. Where did Maynet come from? Now you're answering it. Go on.
Yes. So May is number 5 in the month, and it denotes favor. So I said, I need to nivushe nyavu. I put down the net and asked God for favor. And Maynet came into the picture. Yes.
And it's been around for how long now?
So the Maynet name has existed from October last year.
The entity, actually.
Yes.
I'm talking about the entity.
So the I've been operating as Gigi the brand for a year and a half. But Maynet, the business, came into being in October. Yes.
So you're your own boss, in other words.
Yes.
So now you had to, take the leap of faith.
Yes.
Wow, interesting. So now, because I know the whole thing about being self-employed, being your own boss, is a story for another day. Let's talk about, because a lot of students are graduating, a lot of students are going for further studies, and we cannot downplay the place of academia. But when PR students want to write their masters about PR, and they tend to lean on even sources from marketing, because at some point Grace will write an article, and because of her portfolio, I want to cite her. But she's written an article on marketing. I mean, is it possible that people can look at PR and marketing as cousins or brothers or whatever, and not imagine marketing is going south while PR is going north?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Most companies, you'll find they have marketing and sales combined. Those two are always joined. Others, it's PR and marketing joint. Others, you'll find corporate communications, marketing separate. What I always say, they are very separate entities, first of all, but they complement each other.
Okay.
Sales and marketing cannot be combined. And I keep saying that. I have met people, because I'm in marketing forums, I've met people saying they're sales and marketing managers. And I always say it's very wrong for you to do both sales and marketing. It's very wrong for people to do both PR and marketing at the same time, because there are KPIs specifically for PR.
Yes.
There are KPIs specifically for marketing. PR is about reputation building. What people think, people just assume, I'll do reputation building for 3 months, that's it. When I was in campus, I remember there's a lecturer who said one of her friends had been fired because they didn't think they're relevant in the organization. She was in PR. Yeah, PR was not relevant.
Oh, wow.
Some organizations do not have PR. And as I say, even MSMEs, my first job was in an MSME and I was called PR and marketing. I never did anything PR. I was doing more of marketing. Marketing is getting leads, activities that will help you get leads, and then sales will convert.
All right.
So you see, when it comes to PR, there are activities specifically for PR, those that I mentioned before.
All right.
Then when it comes to marketing, there are activities just for marketing to get the leads.
Okay.
Efforts from PR help marketing warm up.
Okay.
So just because you see Safaricom, talking about Safaricom, when you see their billboard, right now I've come across a billboard saying they are #1 employer in the whole of Kenya. That's a PR effort.
Yes.
They're not promoting anything.
Yeah.
That's a PR effort.
Yeah.
If a PR person is not going to talk about that, a marketing will say, how will it bring us leads? They have a corporate communication person, they have a marketing person.
Okay.
So the marketing person will say, we need this number of leads. I need also billboards talking about this. Okay. The salesperson also has activities. So these activities are to take the leads from marketing and convert them.
Okay.
There are calls, there are email marketing, there are so many activities in sales.
Right.
So they are cousins, but you cannot tell one person to do both.
Okay.
Because they will go by what will give me pointers in terms of bonus.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we look at it from an academic perspective, is it possible for a student to cite a lot of marketing sources because they are related?
No. If you are doing masters in PR, cite PR. If you're doing something in marketing, just cite marketing.
Cite marketing.
Because in the job market, they're also very different.
Okay.
Yes.
I think the examiners would be happy to hear that. But anyway, at the end of the day, you said they complement each other. Yes. So let's talk about a successful campaign, because you've done some very successful campaigns. Maybe in a summarized way, what are some of the ways one can run a successful campaign as a PR person? Yes.
So #1, I always say, don't just come up with a campaign just because you think.
Right.
Do research first. So research is informed, one, because of less leads, less traffic to your website. Maybe social media algorithms haven't been working for some time.
Right.
So based off on that, come up with a research specifically to understand the why. Sometimes it can involve focus groups. Maybe your brand has not been taken up well by the people who are loyal to your brands.
Yes.
Call them to a focus group and ask them the why. Involve competitor analysis in the focus group to just understand, so are you going to this, are you going to that?
Yeah.
Once you've analyzed the problem, now come up with a campaign to solve that problem. The campaign is not just one-ended, and that's why I said PR marketing efforts. So PR efforts have to be there. Marketing efforts have to be there. So don't do a TV ad on people going to your website because they want to buy a laptop. And then you go to social media and people should buy an iPhone. Then you go to YouTube ad, another thing which is very different. So in that time that you're trying to solve this problem, the campaign should be based off on that. So before you start a campaign, measure everything that you're trying to target. So if it's your YouTube that you're trying to get more, what has it been right now? If it's your website, how much traffic do you have right now? Then start the campaign in the relevant channels based on that problem. Then measure during. When you measure during, why we always say it's good to measure during, it's because you can tweak the strategy. Stop using that one or differentiate from the rest. And then afterwards to see how successful was this campaign. Most finance people and CEOs will say, how comes we didn't get leads from this? Sometimes it has to be a long-term campaign. Sometimes it has to be short-term. So it depends with the aim and the problem that you're trying to solve. Yeah.
What's been your greatest challenge as a PR practitioner so far?
I think two, finance people and CEOs.
Why?
Finance people, marketers, PR professionals never sit down together with finance people. I personally come from a family of finance. I never sit down with my sister and brother because they question everything I do.
Oh, they're economists.
They are economists. So when it comes to the end of the campaign, remember when you were seeking for a budget in the beginning of the campaign, you asked for this much and you equated it to this target and this number of output. So once you come back, the target hasn't been met as per what you had anticipated, and these are not the results. So of course the finance will start questioning the relevance of your next campaign. So clashes in companies always happen with PR and marketers and finance people when it comes to budgets and the output. When it comes to CEOs, especially MSMEs, even to date the ones I train, founders of companies are very, even mine, if you look at my website, you'll find I'm the one appearing now.
Understandably so, at least for now.
Yes. So you find even MSMEs, some have even stayed for 4 years. When you go to that company, you find a PR and marketing person seated in a seat, and you ask them, what are your KPIs? They'll never tell you brand representation. So you ask, who goes to panels? The CEO. Who goes to events? CEO. Who goes to network? CEO. And I ask, what is your role? The problem with CEOs, they do not like to separate themselves from the brand. They feel if someone else takes up that, they won't represent the brand as much as I do in the best way I do. So what I teach CEOs is to let go. Let go and delegate. I have sat down with an influencer, very good in finance. I'll just say her name because she knows I can mention. Just Ivy. Just Ivy talked to me about delegation. And if you look at her platforms, they're not managed by her. And they are very profound in the knowledge that she gives. Like you can say this is actually her, but it's not. But the power of delegation is that you look for the best person who can represent you the same way you would, and let it all go. So, and you'll see results.
That's like a social media manager?
Yes, someone who writes on her behalf. Yes.
Wow. Wonderful. I mean, as we talk about all this, I'm definitely learning a lot, and we cannot finish before we talk about how we rise. And as I was looking and thrive, how we rise and thrive. And as I was looking at the cover of this book, I noticed that there's no lead author. Usually you'd expect et al, either Gikonyo et al or something like that. But I noticed, yes, courtesy of the fact that there are many authors, but tell me, what inspired the writing of How We Rise and Thrive, Navigating Challenges, Overcoming Obstacles, and Creating Leadership Impact? I'm still reading. So definitely I wouldn't be an authority in every chapter, but it's a very good book.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this was, I was just transitioning to having my own company.
Yes.
When the publishers reached out to me and they wanted me to write about it, I was very hesitant because I didn't feel like I'm an author. So they told me the reason behind me being part of this. And one of the things they said is most women, because it's geared towards women in the career face a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
I have sat down with field director one day, and he said there are things that people talk about, women talk about, and for him, he thinks we go through the challenges, all of us. But when you hear certain things, he's like, oh, I don't even know that this happens. Even for him, he was saying he does certain things, and a woman would say, I don't like it when you say this or when you do this. And for him, he says it just because, like, he can say it with anyone.
Yeah.
But women take it to heart. Why? Because women have faced so many challenges in career. Some, if you read the book, you'll find people have gone through even financial abuse with their partners. They have won grants brought to the house. They never know what the partner earns.
Yes.
And the partner takes all their money. There are people who have suffered abuse even in the corporate world, in the sense of a boss has tried to make advances on you.
Yes.
And because you refused, then you lose your job.
They make your life difficult.
Yes. Yeah. There are people who have, so for a woman to make it in the career world, they've navigated so many challenges. For me, my challenge was, I was an average person. Currently, if you tell someone, or even if you ask the Gen Z, I have a niece who's 16 years, and if I ask her, what do you want to become? She always tells me very crazy things. You know, they think big.
Yes, they do.
For us, we were taught, millennials were taught that you have to be a surgeon, you have to be a doctor. If you're working in the industry, you have to work in EABL, you have to work in Coca-Cola, you have to work in Safaricom, you have to work in big corporates. But for me, I wasn't dreaming that way. So from a young age, I was an average student.
All right.
I wasn't the top, I wasn't the bottom. I was just somewhere.
Yeah.
And we were always taught you have to score an A. You have to score an A. And once you leave, when I left high school, because I went to a national high school with my average grades, I always worked hard to become the very best in whatever I do.
All right.
When I was in campus, people thought I'm very smart. It's because I was doing what I was passionate about. And that's what we miss. We tell students, go become a doctor. Their grades are terrible in campus. They don't make it. And even if they do, they become an average doctor.
Yes.
So
a miserable one.
Yes,
for that matter,
a miserable one.
Yeah.
So once I became who I was in terms of my passion, I grew it. I was geared towards MSMEs. And that's where I started. When I went into MSMEs, I loved seeing a brand grow. When I was in the PR agency, I could see Power Internet, which is all over right now. That's a brand I worked with when it was in Kibera only, you know. So sometimes looking at that brand, that COO is still in my contacts to date.
Yeah.
I see the brand grow and I text him and I tell him, I've seen your billboard in Nakuru, well done. Like that gives me so much hope.
Yeah.
When I went into Gigi and I saw it grow from somewhere where it had just bought OLX to where it was by the time I left, 0.03% in terms of fraud. That was a success for me.
Yes.
When I went into Gigi, into Twiva, and I saw it moving from a shy brand to an award-winning brand, several awards even in Middle East, I was so proud of it, you know. So for me, what gives me power is to see an MSME grow from nothing to something. But people always tell us, go to corporations. If I ask any person who's worked in a corporation, what have you learned? They've always been in that same position for 10 years.
Yeah.
They've not grown because they are fed with everything.
Okay.
So sometimes you have to unlearn what you've been taught. You don't have to be an A student. You just be the best in whatever you do.
Be the best in your area.
Yeah, I always say blossom where you're planted. Whichever area you're at, just blossom.
So as we conclude, Grace, you're talking to a young aspiring public relations person in the near future, and most of them think it's all about meeting the who is who, attending events. There are all those misconceptions, even though that's part of the job. But just tell us, I mean, possibly you look at that camera and tell an aspiring public relations practitioner what to expect, or 2 tips that would really help them even as they look forward to joining the PR world.
Okay.
Yes.
I always say this. I have 3 mentees, who graduated. What I tell people is, sometimes the places that you'll grow from are the small companies that you ignore. You'll rush into getting an internship in the who's and who's in terms of the companies, but the chances of you growing there are very minimal unless you go out there and get mentors. So be active. Try as much as possible to become something. Even if you go into that corporation, be different from the rest of the interns. Like, bring something that will make sense to the company. So don't just become an intern that is known. Do not just become an intern that comes and goes. Go out of your way, research. When they hire interns, they hire because you're bringing something better. So learn about trends, introduce that, so that even when they're letting go, they're trying to see, how can we create a budget just to have this intern here? That's how you become relevant. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Grace. And finally, what would you tell a younger you? You go back in time. We learn from our mistakes. Wow. What would you tell a younger Grace?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd say sometimes it's hard. You're not a B student. You're not a C student. Mm-hmm. You are the best. And you're going to blossom in who you are and become the very best that God gave you, that God has given to you.
Yes.
Yes.
I love that. You're not an A student, B student. You're the best that God created you to be and what God made you to be. And there you have it, viewer. Grace Gikonyo has really laid it out well. It's only that time is not on our side. There would have been more to speak about this possibly at a later date. And so until next time, this is Ann David on In Focus saying all the best in life, and particularly to people that plan on joining the PR world. Until next time.